Alright, before this video starts, I'm just gonna say a few things. I know this video is taking me long and is a lot longer than my previous videos, but trust me, this will be worth the wait some of y'all had. Also, since as of this clip, the beginning of this video was 4 months ago, excluding this one because it was one of the last clips I recorded, the quality may look and sound a bit weird, but it does progressively get better, so don't freak out about it much. Oh, and for the screen recordings, there may or may not be this black bar with a green circle on top of the screen recordings, which I'm not sure of how to actually get rid of. So if you have any solution, just let me know in the comments. I'd highly appreciate it. Anyways, without further ado, let's actually get on into the video. Hello, everybody. My name is Evil, and welcome to another brand new video on this channel. Well, that was weird. In this video, we'll be talking about no-code game engines. But not the general topic of them and how they came to be, but rather the different engines that fall under this category and which one you should choose. But first, a little backstory. Now, let's go all the way back to 2021 with 10-year-old me. We'll just call him Lil Zero for now. Now, Lil Zero loved games. In fact, he loved them so much that he decided to make a game of his own. But in order for you to make games, you needed to learn how to program. And Lil Zero did not want to do any of that. Which is highly respectable, not gonna lie. So he had to find an alternative solution, which was, you guessed it, no code game engines. And the one he stumbled upon and eventually chose was Buildbox, which, funnily enough, is actually one of the engines that we'll be testing today, plus some other two that we'll be getting to in a bit. Now, Lewis was so proud of himself for being able to figure all of this out, and he was confident that he'd start making games in no time. Oh boy, if only he realized how stressful things were about to get that day. After opening up Buildbox, Lil Zero was having a fun time trying out all the different game templates that Buildbox had to offer, but he still didn't know how he was going to make a game of his own. Which led him to use one of the greatest sources of information for modern day society, Skillshare! Oh wait, they aren't sponsoring this video. Although I wish they were. The internet! Specifically, YouTube. And this is where the disaster begins. When Lil Zero was searching for tutorials on YouTube, I gotta stop that. He was confused that most of the tutorials were for 3D games when the game he wanted to work on was 2D. What confused him even more was the way he specifically searched for tutorials on 2D games. Most of them were about a different version of Buildbox called Buildbox Classic. Now, there's a really good reason as to why this is actually important, to make sure you keep on watching to the end so you can learn about why this is the case. And just to quickly wrap things up, Lil Zero got so frustrated that he couldn't find the right tutorial that he decided to give up, close YouTube, close Buildbox, and never touch game dev ever again for an entire year. That was until like late 2022, where he actually like joined Scratch and learned how to actually make games, and then everything else just took its own path from there. And all those events eventually led to the present me, talking to you right now in front of a camera on this beautiful app called YouTube, pre-recorded, um, uh, making games now and animation and music stuff. Uh, yeah. So I guess thanks for listening to my cool backstory about how I became a game dev. Most of the stuff I was like doing research on for Buildbox, like I just did a little bit more and realized some stuff in my memory about the whole thing. I was like, oh yeah, this thing actually connects to this and everything else, and then you know what I'm saying, like how the stuff just happened and everything else, and like everything I remembered about that exact event actually like kind of connected to the Buildbox thing as well. Now, Lil Zero isn't the only one that's had such an experience like this. In fact, many people around the world, heck, even you, or one of your friends, might have also quit game dev for this exact reason, or even more. Some people might even end up saying that it's such a hard thing to learn. But that's the thing that comes with any skill. Even ones that don't require as much creativity. When you do get good at that skill, however, it is one of the most rewarding things known to mankind. And if you're somehow in the exact same situation as Lil Zero was, trying to figure out what no-code game engine he should use, then this video might just be the right one for you. So, without speaking any more Japanese, let's actually begin the video! I don't even have an intro yet. Oh my god. So here's how the point ranking system is gonna work. Each of the engines that we'll be covering today, which are GDevelop, Buildbox, and Construct Tree, will be tested in 9 different categories, which you can read on your own. If an engine is good in that category, then they get a point. If an engine is okay in that category and is mid, then they don't gain any points. But if an engine sells in that category and is really bad at it, then it loses a point. Sounds quite simple, eh? Nice. We can finally move on to the first category of this list, the introduction. Not to be confused with the actual intro of this video, although technically it isn't. But it's basically what the game engine will do when you're opening it up for the first time, and the things I will show you during that process. This also includes making an account, plus all the other stuff you have to do to actually start using the engine. Now it's time to actually start testing the game engines, with the first one being GDevelop. After making an account and opening up the editor, GDevelop shows you a lot of presets that you can play around with. GDevelop also shows you a survey that will quote-unquote personalize your get started content, which is basically just the beginning tutorials that GDevelop shows you. And this is actually a pretty good thing, because this helps them further in introducing you to the engine. They also have tutorials and built-in and video forms to help you get better at using the engine. Overall, GDevelop is doing a pretty good job once it comes to serving you with a platter of different options for you to choose in order to actually learn the engine. Well, and with all of that being said, I think it's pretty obvious that GDevelop is getting a point. Now, next up, we have Construct Tree. Construct Tree, not Construct. Oh my. Construct Tree has tons of tutorials and learning resources you can access right from the homepage. They even have tutorials in other languages. But I recommend sticking to the English version because most of these languages have little to no tutorials whatsoever. Anyways, unlike GDevelop, the tutorials Construct Tree shows you are actually written, meaning you'll have to read the information instead of playing along with a video. And while this might have its own advantages, like, I don't know, a little bit more in memory of the topic, it can feel kind of boring and almost like a chore at times. And you're usually able to learn a lot more quicker from an actual video demonstration of something you're trying to learn, instead of just trying to guess where everything is. Now I know what you're thinking, but Tivo, can't you just search up for the tutorials ourselves? And yeah, you can, but this isn't what this category is about. It's the tutorials that the engine shows you itself that counts, not the other way around. Irony! Complete irony! Are you not the same person that spends most of his time reading the Godot documentation just to fix that one stupid bug? You definitely did. I should really start turning off my camera and mic more. Anyways, Construct Tree may not offer as much as its competitors, but hey, it's still doing a pretty decent job. And the built-in beginner tutorial being the first thing shown to you when you open up the editor is just mwah. So Construct Tree will not be getting or losing any points this round. And our final engine for this category is Buildbox. And oh boy, you best believe me when I say trying to start using this engine absolutely ruined my day. Do you realize how unnecessarily long it took me just to find a version of the engine that was actually free? Now this might start sounding like a big silly issue on my part, but hear me out. This engine has 3 different versions. One is free, and the other 2 have their own separate subscriptions that have to be paid in order to use them. I'll explain this more in depth in the affordability category. Now, I wasn't aware of this, so I tried the 2 paid ones first before trying out the free one, and I was getting darn worried I'll actually have to pay for Buildbox in order to use it. And you could obviously tell that I was real frustrated when I was prompted to pay for a subscription 2 times in a row. Like, I just want to test out the engine already! I apologize for the crash out. Anyways, after the stressful process of logging into the engine, I was immediately taken to a customization window that, when completed, gives you a fully fleshed out game out of nowhere. Another accidental crash out. You know what that means? Also, Buildbox, you're doing a great job at giving the user a false sense of accomplishment and making them think that they'll start making games in no time. Everything is piecing together now, isn't it, Buildbox? Buildbox has video tutorials that can be played straight from the engine, but that's really the only good thing I can say about it. So with all that said, Buildbox will be the first engine to lose a point. And yes, the points can go below 0. Don't you dare complain about it in the comments! Alright, system requirements. I've got a good backstory for this one. This was one of those categories I was changed a lot during the research process. If you don't want to listen to the whole spiel, just skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. So at first, this category is originally going to be called performance, and it will be a test to see which engine can run the fastest with the same amount of high objects. But then I went, wait a minute, this category is ridiculously unfair, since GDevelop and Country Tree were run on the website while Beerbugs had to be downloaded. Which would then cause an obvious lose for Beerbugs since the other two are so lightweight. And because I didn't want to try getting that 10-year-old laptop to run and have a horrible experience getting the engines to run. And because I'm lazy. Duh. I decided that it would be a better idea if I just list out the system requirements, which probably wasn't any better than the performance idea, but hey, it's better than nothing. And this would only require me from getting information from each engine's forums. Now, pretty cool backstory. Only reason I added it though was to actually increase the length of this category because it is that short. In fact, the only thing I should be showing you is the actual system requirements for each engine. And since all of them are good for their intended platforms, this will be a 3-pointer round. We're off to a great start, GDevelop. Give yourself a pat on the back. Oh wait, do I have to give it to you? Yeah, this is awkward. Now next up, we have the exploiting capability. This category will be about the different options you have to exploit your games to. This will also be about if any options are put behind a paywall. Starting with GDevelop. GDevelop can exploit to PC, mobile, web, and even console. And it supports 2D and 3D. Quick disclaimer for everything I just said. I just did a little bit of research and I realized as I'm recording this, you actually can't exploit content for GDevelop or any of the engines I'll be talking about, at least natively. Big oopsies on my part, and I'll be making sure to prevent this from happening again in the next clip after this, so yeah, sorry. Well, despite the good things I just mentioned, the paywalls aren't so merciful. You're only allowed to exploit once per day for PC and Android, and have to pay to exploit to iOS. And to exploit more times per day. There's also a watermark on your exported games that you have to pay to remove. Or you could try doing something like going to the notepad of your game's files to manually remove it, but is it really worth it at that point? If it weren't for you being able to make 2D and 3D games in this engine, you wouldn't have gained any points. So lucky you, GDevelop, because you're getting a point this round. Now, as for Concept Tree, you have the exact same options as GDevelop: PC, mobile, and web. And unfortunately, you can only make 2D and 2.5D games. You could try making 3D games in it, but that would just be like trying to make a 3D game in Scratch. It's possible, but just not intended for the engine at all, which makes doing it a tedious task. And all of these options, except for the web and Concept 3 Arcade, which is basically the hosting site for games made in the engine, need a personal plan to actually be used. I'll talk about this personal plan thing more in the next category. Construct 3, despite the paywalls and only being able to do 2D, is still quite okay, especially with the personal plan thing that's only one simple subscription. So, Construct 3 will be gaining or losing any points this round. Alright, here we have Billbox. Billbox for some reason is only able to exploit to mobile and PC and can't exploit to web. Maybe because it isn't a web application itself, or it just has complicated 3D graphics. I'm not sure, but you can make 3D and 2D games in the engine, so that's a plus. And while doing research for this video, I couldn't really find out if there's a limited amount of time to get an export in the free version without having to test it myself. And I didn't want to do that, since that just required me to keep on exporting multiple projects and then try and go through every nook and cranny of the engine's exporting features just to confirm it. And because I'm lazy. Duh. Not sure if anything else I'll say about this engine will be worth it, and I want to quickly wrap this up, so I think Billbox just not get or lose any points this round. Now, remember when I said this? And this? Well, this is that part of the video, baby! Woo! Yeah, yeah. And in order to keep you guys from waiting, we are immediately starting off with Billbox. Now, let's remember all those times as a kid. Even though I still am one. Where we really, really wanted to have something, but the price was just ungodly. Well, Billbox is the exact definition of that. And you know what? I don't even really need to say much for the price, but just gonna show you the beautiful and wondrous walls of subscription plans. Now, that's one part in the affordability category for Billbox done. But there's another one that has just as much of a big role as those price plans. And it's about the 3 different versions of Billbox. These versions are Billbox 3, Billbox Classic, and Billbox 4. Billbox 3 is a normal free version with 2D and 3D. Billbox Classic is what I think might be the most lightweight out of all of them, and it wanna focus a lot more on 2D.